So, guys, today's a beautiful day because we're one more chapter away from greatness. Okay, I probably said that in the last video. I know I did, but I'm mixing the anime and the manga, and then again, it feels shorter in my head. So, excuse me if I say that, but now I'm realizing as I'm reading the chapters over and over again, I'm realizing that it took some time. So hopefully by next chapter, after this chapter 77 of Katekyo Hitman REBORN, you'll see what I'm talking about. Especially if you're new to the whole thing. If you are a manga reader, then we're at chapter 77, and in the anime, unless you're someone that has rewatched the anime or you are now beginning, I would probably say for rewatching again, you probably know what episode the chapter is adapted from. Okay, so from chapter 76, the previous chapter, we have where Mukuro basically took possession of Bianchi, Gokudera, Chikusa, and Ken, everybody that's injured. He tried to take possession of Hibari, but because Hibari was the most injured out of all the participants, he couldn't do so. So allowing himself to possess everyone after shooting himself with the possession bullet, which is basically banned, but somehow he got his hands on it, meaning someone was still manufacturing it on the side without anybody really knowing, and somehow Mukuro was able to get possession of it, right? So he got the possession, he shot himself, supposedly killing himself, but really it was his spirit that transferred several times into different bodies, and we come to find out that he can use the abilities of each person he possessed. It's actually with his 6 paths of reincarnation. It when his eyes turn into the kanji of 2, it is the state of hungry ghost, which allows him to basically use again the abilities of anyone he possesses, and also keep the abilities from his past lives. So every time he dies, he gets a new ability, and he keeps the abilities from his past life. On top of, once he possesses a person, he is able to use their special attacks, special techniques, whatever the case is. So Bianchi with poison cooking, Gokudera with his bombing of dynamites, Chikusa with his yo-yo poison needles, and with that's Chikusa, and Ken with his animal like abilities once he changes the dentures and turns into the animals, right? But as we continue to see as the duration of chapter 77, every single person he's possessed, and you thought Hibari was bad, every single one of them is injured. Gokudera would, basically call, he got hands in the chest. Bianchi was stabbed in the stomach by a possessed Futa. Well, not possessed, but mind control Futa. Ken and Chikusa were already injured. Chikusa was injured during the fight with Gokudera the first time round, and Ken was injured with the fight with Yamamoto, and then with Hibari, right? And he's possessing them, and he's using all of their techniques. And as you see, as they're continuously fighting, the bodies are dropping to the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor. You know that song, right? The bodies are falling to the floor. Of course, Mukuro doesn't feel any of the pain, but the bodies can hold up. So the thing is, while he's in possession, obviously he can do anything to the bodies. If you remember in chapter 76, what he did with Gokudera's body, he took a fingernail and was slitting his throat and everything. He can do, because they don't have no control of their own bodies anymore at this point, okay? And Tsuna is very frightened. He's also attacking Reborn, and you would have thought Reborn would have got injured and everything, but of course Reborn is a skilled hitman, so he can evade the attacks and everything. But mind you, Tsuna is still a 14-year-old boy. He doesn't know what to do in this situation, and I nearly cried, because back when I used to read it in the beginning, it didn't really, but now that I'm older and I'm rereading these chapters again, it nearly made me want to cry, simply because you see how helpless Tsuna is in this situation. Because up until this point of the series, obviously Tsuna, out of everybody, he can't fight, he can't really do nothing, okay? And the chapter starts off with the title "My Two Students" or something like that. Remember, Reborn taught Dino, who he did mention in the chapter that he is Tsuna's older brother, simply because he was his student before Tsuna. So before he had Tsuna as a student, he was literally just training Dino, and that's why Dino is what the 10th head of the Cavalion family. Okay, he's practically the head. So after him was Tsuna, so he's the big brother. Anyway, he said, and you know, Reborn's way of teaching is more like he'll tell you the instructions, but he's not gonna hold your hand, okay? And some might say what's Reborn is doing, you know, not really helping Tsuna. You see, Tsuna cannot do anything, but you gotta remember, Reborn has his hands tied behind his back. I don't know how much times I have to reiterate that, because I know some people will be like, yo, Reborn is being an a-hole, he's being a jerk. You see practically an inexperienced person dealing with life and death literally in his face, a 14-year-old boy at that too, very young, okay, and he needs desperate help. You're the only one that's capable of defeating everyone here, and we can go back home, but you're not doing anything. But remember, prior to this, the start of all of this was he got that letter from the Knight Vongola that says he is not to do anything. And this is the point where it pushes Tsuna to realize, like, you know, Reborn can't always hold his hand. He can only tell him, you know, you have to do this and you have to do that, basically giving him the instructions, but he cannot hold his hand along the journey. He can only be there by his side. Okay, but he's not going to be fighting on the front lines with him, because there are going to be many times where Reborn is not there. So what is Tsuna going to do, especially since he is technically the next head of the Vongola, right? So Tsuna's just like, why can you help me? Why you're leaving me here alone? And it does hurt you, especially if you reread this. Even if you don't reread it, it tugs at your heartstrings, because it's like the desperation in Tsuna's face and his actions, it calls out like you really want to help him, because like he is this close to dying, getting hurt, possibly dying, and then getting possessed by Mukuro, because out of everybody, Tsuna's the least injured, okay? So his body is practically in tip-top shape, okay? And Reborn technically went and kicked the hell out of Tsuna. In that moment, probably some people might not find it funny, but if you know of their dynamics, you realize, okay, this is kind of something that's on and off. This is the teacher, this is their student. And what he tells Tsuna, you have to take this and carry on for the rest of the series, for the rest of the manga, because it's not the first time you see this with Tsuna and Reborn, especially in very critical moments, especially for Tsuna's character growth, right? Reborn is like, what are your feelings in this situation? Don't listen to Mukuro. Don't listen to the taunting. Forget the fighting. Forget everything that's happening. What are your feelings in this particular moment? Of course, we hear where Mukuro possessing one of the bodies, taunting, saying that, like, you know, right now in this moment, he's feeling scared. He wants to run away. He's wondering why this is happening to him. And Reborn is really looking Tsuna in the face and saying, no, tell what you're true. How are you feeling deep within? Out of all the fear, out of all the anxiety, how are you feeling in your heart? In the deepest of your heart, how are you feeling? Explain yourself in this situation. And I was like, bro. And some people might not find that deep, but it's just like sometimes in the face of uncertainty, yes, the fear, yes, the anxiety, yes, the unknown is on the front of it all, you know? But underneath that surface of all of that, all that negativity, that negative emotions, what lays beneath? What is the truth of the matter? Okay? How exactly are you feeling about all of this? And this is another point that we saw. Remember, Tsuna, while he may be a scaredy cat, and that's justified because, again, this is not an easy world to live in, the mafia world, that no sane 14-year-old will want to be part of. No sane 14-year-old, and I don't care if this is a path. This is a path that he did not want. This was a path that was thrown on him, and he had no way out. Okay? He had to do it or he would have been killed. Point blank. Remember chapter 1, chapter 2, where they said all the people that was killed before Tsuna? Go back to that. And then you wonder why Tsuna is scared majority of the time, even though he starts to show leader-like qualities throughout the remaining of the series. This is he can't run away from this, okay? Basically, Tsuna, it's like, no, I want to fight him. I want to defeat Mukuro. This is not the first time we saw Tsuna like this. This happened actually earlier in this arc when they went to go fight like all of the assassins that were sent after them, right? Especially with birds. How Tsuna was so willing to actually end his own life to ensure that Kyoko and the others were safe. Even when it came to finding out what Mukuro did to Lancia, that anger that he had. Tsuna is a person that, despite everything, Tsuna believes in fair justice. And he gets rightfully angry when he sees people being treated unfairly. Unjustifiably so, you know? And in this case and scenario, seeing what Mukuro is doing to even his so-called friends, Ken and Chikusa, using their worn and torn bodies and using them at his own disclosure, you know, using them as he please, because he basically says, hey, this is my body now, and I'll use it even if it means it breaks. I'll use it how I please. That doesn't sit well with Tsuna. I'm not saying Tsuna is like a superhero or he has a grand goal or everything, but when Tsuna knows wrong, Tsuna knows wrong. He knows wrong from right, and this whole situation is wrong. And when he made the declaration saying, I want to defeat Mukuro Rokudo, you start seeing this shining light that is Leon. Remember, Leon, when this whole ordeal started to happen, back in chapter 62, Leon's tail fell off, meaning some change was going to happen, because, you know, reptilians, their skin peels off, or some part of their body drops off because they're going to go through a change or metamorphosis or something like that sort, right? Once Leon's tail did drop, he started changing into different forms, okay? Without, you know, actually him being able to control it. Later in the arc, closer to where we are now, he's starting to slowly stabilize, but I guess in this way, Leon is very connected to Tsuna in terms of Tsuna's emotions, his truth, if you will, his will. And this also tied back to Dino, because Reborn was telling Tsuna in the chapter, saying that there was a time where Dino was quite in a pickle, okay? He was in a situation where it almost seemed helpless, just like Tsuna. And then when he dug deep within and found his truth, and how he wanted to finish off this situation, he wanted to be able to go home back to his family and everything, he found that willpower. That's when Leon changed. Leon changes when the person Reborn is in charge of, or something like that, is about to experience newer heights in their growth, right? And in this case, it's Tsuna's turn now. It was Dino, as we know from past, and they show flashback. Now it's Tsuna's turn. So Leon turned into this like blob, a glowing blob, and then he started to stretch all over the room. And he's glowing while staying stuck up on the ceiling. And you have to, if you're watching the anime or you read the manga, you know, especially anime I think had it tops, because like we saw Leon glowing and everything, and you're like wondering like, whoa, what's happening? Some change is about to happen. And now it's Tsuna's turn, because Tsuna made the declaration saying, I want to defeat Mukuro. This is his level up. Tsuna was at level, I guess, for some time now, he was at level 5. Now he's about to skyrocket to probably level 15 after this, okay? So, this is I believe, the last chapter before we see that huge change with Tsuna, okay? He's getting his level up. He's getting his more metamorphosis happening in the next chapter. So guys, do tell me in the comment section below, first time manga readers, first time anime watchers, repeat readers, manga readers, repeat anime watchers, how do you feel about this chapter 77? And if you are an anime watcher, but you also read the manga, do drop in the comments below on the episode that adapted this chapter, because I can't remember. I haven't watched it again. I haven't watched the anime in a long time, so I don't really know like the chapters it adapted from what chapters it didn't adapt from. So do tell me in the comment section below the episode so any of us can rewatch it and just see that moment happen all over again, because this was just really the change that defied what Katekyo Hitman Reborn is. This chapter going into the next chapter that I 100% sure of is that tipping point where the whole entire series decides to, skyrocket, level up, man. He going through a massive change. So do tell me in the comment section for that. The links are in the description box, so you guys can go check that out. And I'm Kimmy Chan of Anime Legends, and I will see you guys later. Bye!